to the shelter. Survival is the win. Take this map. Dad's bunker is in the middle of the forest. You're the initiator.
It's the end of your run.
Fuck it.
That chase you just saw wasn't his first time running for his life. It was the result of everything spiraling completely out of control. Before he was dragged into this deadly hunt, he was just an ordinary man, no different from anyone else. His name is Ben. He worked a regular job, went home after work, and took care of his child. He thought life, at the very least, could go on. But in just a few short days, everything completely fell apart. He was fired from his job, his pay was withheld, and even his last way out was cut off. Holding his child, who had been running a fever for a week, Ben begged his boss to let him come back to work. But because of Ben's explosive temper, other employees had often gotten hurt because of his anger. Looking at his daughter burning with fever in his arms, Ben was terrified. But no matter how much he swallowed his pride or begged, his boss still refused to let him return. Ben was about to leave, but when his boss mocked him using his daughter, he completely lost it and slammed the desk, shouting back,
I brought her to stop myself from bouncing your face off this desk.
But nothing changed in the end, and Ben had no choice but to give up. Just as he stepped out of the office, Ben saw a hunting game playing on the TV mounted on the wall. At that moment, something clicked in his mind. After returning home and feeding his child, Ben sat on the couch holding her, watching TV. As the show played, he became more and more tempted. Just for joining the show, every participant would receive a base reward of $100. And the more questions you answered on the show, the more money you could earn. Watching his wife work extra shifts at a nightclub every night because he lost his job, Ben was overwhelmed with guilt. So Ben made a decision. He was going to join the show. But what Ben never expected was that the game he entered for his wife and child would nearly cost him his family. When Ben arrived at the TV station, he found a massive crowd and had no choice but to stand in line with everyone else. Suddenly, an old man behind him started coughing violently, and out of kindness, Ben stepped forward to help. But to his shock, the security guards not only stopped him from helping, they ordered him to go back to the end of the line. When Ben tried to protest, a guard immediately took him down with a stun baton.
Back in the line! Well!
Outnumbered, Ben had no choice but to hold it in and return to the line. Time slowly passed, and Ben finally reached the registration window, ready to sign up. But the station's records labeled Ben as a dangerous individual. It turned out Ben had worked many jobs before, but had been fired every time because of his temper and refusal to follow orders. Still boiling from what the guards did to him, Ben stood there as the arrogant receptionist showed no sign of backing off. The receptionist mocked Ben's daughter, calling her a pitiful little thing. The moment his family was mentioned, Ben snapped and punched the glass. At that moment, a voice came through the receptionist's earpiece.
Elevator 6.
Just like that, Ben was given a chance at an interview. But to officially join the show, he had to pass a series of tests set by the station. The most important part of the testing focused on physical strength and reaction speed. Fortunately, having struggled at the bottom of society for years, Ben had worked countless physical jobs, each one a form of real training. As a result, Ben quickly passed the first test, even stopping to help another contestant before finishing the task. But in this brutal game, helping others was strictly forbidden. A nearby guard immediately noticed and decided to teach Ben a lesson. This time, Ben didn't hold back. He fought back. Soon, the test moved into the next phase, where a psychologist evaluated Ben through image association. Even though Ben tried hard to suppress his emotions, the results showed he was the angriest contestant the show had ever seen. The TV station's evaluation soon reached its final stage. Ben changed into the jumpsuit prepared by the crew and was led into a sealed, mysterious room. Waiting for him by the floor-to-ceiling window was the true power behind the station, its owner, Killian. Impressed by Ben's physical abilities and reflexes, Killian immediately invited him to join another show of his, The Ultimate Game. As he spoke, Killian casually tossed an envelope in front of Ben and told him that what was inside was enough to change his entire family's situation. However, Ben wasn't tempted right away. He knew perfectly well that this so-called variety show was, at its core, a large-scale hunting game. Any contestant who could survive the game for a full month would win a massive cash prize, enough to change their life. But Ben didn't want to gamble with his life. Determined to return home alive to his wife and child, he firmly refused Killian without hesitation. But Killian didn't give up, just because Ben said no. Step by step, he began manipulating Ben, telling him that with his physical strength and reflexes, he had a real chance of winning the game. Killian even deliberately brought up the people Ben cared about most, his family. Sure enough, the moment his wife and child were mentioned, Ben's resolve began to waver. What Ben didn't know was that Killian had said these exact words to everyone who walked into that room. Seeing the hesitation on Ben's face, Killian immediately pressed his advantage. He told Ben that if he survived just 1 week in the game, the first payout would be wired directly into his wife's bank account. That way his wife wouldn't have to keep working at a nightclub and their child could get better care. Thinking that his family might finally live a more dignified life, and tempted by the so-called success stories in front of him, Ben fell silent for a moment, then finally nodded and accepted Killian's offer. The next second, he pressed his handprint onto the contract.
Welcome to the Running Man.
As Ben left the office, he was quickly met by a private security detail assigned by the station. To make sure he wouldn't be distracted by concerns for his family, the show would temporarily place his wife and daughter under protective custody. The guard then handed Ben a satellite phone. He was given one single chance to call his wife. After a brief goodbye, Ben was taken straight to a luxury apartment prepared by the show. The guard told him to get some rest and attend the press conference the next day. Even so, Ben couldn't stop worrying about his wife and child and barely slept all night. The next day, before the press conference began, the guard fitted Ben with a special mechanical watch. The watch not only tracked the game in real time, but also showed Ben exactly how much money he had earned so far. And just like that, Ben was brought to the press conference. For the sake of ratings, Killian framed Ben with a fake charge claiming he was fired for leaking military secrets to a communist union. Watching his reputation destroyed in public, Ben was furious on stage, exactly the reaction Killian wanted. Killian exaggerated Ben's supposed malice to the audience, then announced that during the game, anyone could report Ben's location. If the tip was accurate, the informant would earn $3,000. If the tip directly led to Ben's death, the reward would jump to $10,000. But Ben's anger still wasn't enough for Killian. He even portrayed Ben as a deadbeat who stayed home all day, living off his wife's work at a nightclub, because only that kind of image could keep driving ratings higher. And the more people who watched, the more people would report Ben. This blatant smear campaign finally pushed Ben completely over the edge.
Fuck you, Dan!
Amid the audience's jeers, the hunting game was about to officially begin. Including Ben, only 3 contestants were chosen. The rules were simple, but brutally cruel, only 2 in total. Rule 1, each contestant would receive $1,000 in starting funds and a full 12-hour head start. After that, the hunters would begin the chase. Rule 2, every contestant must record a personal video before the game starts and submit it to the drone mailbox before midnight. Failure to do so would result in immediate disqualification. The moment the host finished announcing the rules, the hunters appeared directly across from the contestants' stage. Under everyone's gaze, the hunters quickly vanished from sight. The hunting game officially began at that very moment. Ben and the other 2 contestants were sent into a sealed room stocked with basic supplies provided by the show. With time running out, Ben changed clothes and immediately reached out to an old friend for help. His friend set him up with a new outfit, fake identity documents, and even changed his eye color. After everything was ready, Ben used his fake passport to buy a ticket to New York. Behind him, his wanted poster played over and over on the digital screens. Fortunately, the AI staff member in front of him didn't recognize him. Ben stayed on edge the entire trip, but luckily no one recognized him on the train. He checked into a local hotel, and the front desk clerk assumed he had simply shaved his beard, raising no suspicion. But right behind him, the wanted poster kept looping on the lobby screens. To avoid being recognized, Ben hurried into his room. To avoid disqualification, Ben immediately started recording his video, but the content was... To prevent any location leaks, he even covered the photos on the hotel wall with a white sheet. He then sealed the video in an envelope and dropped it into the drone mailbox. Just after midnight, Ben received a notification that $5,000 had been deposited. Ben naively believed that if he hid there for 30 days, he could survive the game. What he didn't expect was that the hunters had already tracked down the man who helped fake his identity that very night. Under threat, the hunters obtained Ben's fake identity and pinpointed his hotel. Early the next morning, Ben was awakened by the sound of the TV. On screen, another contestant was casually heading to a supermarket to buy breakfast. What he didn't know was that a bounty hunter had already locked onto him from the shadows. After following him for a while, the hunter pulled the trigger without hesitation. Just like that, the contestant was shot dead before he even finished breakfast, and his prize money was claimed by the hunter as well. Seeing this, Ben immediately realized he couldn't stay in that hotel any longer. He calmly packed his bags, then went to the front desk and extended his stay by 3 days, deliberately creating the illusion that he was staying put. Moments later, Ben quietly escaped through a window at the end of the hallway, leaving the now compromised hotel behind. Realizing New York was no longer safe, Ben took a bus to Boston. On the street, he paid $200 for a retired veteran's jacket, and even bought the man's room along with it. After all the twists and turns, Ben finally had a moment to breathe. He looked around the veteran's room and casually picked up a box the old man had left on the cabinet. The moment he opened it, Ben realized it contained a hand grenade. Ben accidentally dropped the grenade onto the floor. Ben almost thought he was going to die there, but thankfully, the grenade didn't explode. Just when Ben thought he was safe for the moment, he glanced out the window. He saw someone staring straight at his room. At first, Ben didn't think much of it, but as he grabbed his toiletries to head to the bathhouse, a familiar face suddenly appeared. The person standing below the window was the same man he'd seen at the TV station press conference. Ben immediately sensed something was wrong. He checked the windows on both sides of the hallway and saw the hunters closing in on the building. In a panic, Ben hid behind the bathroom door, just as someone walked out.
Get in your fucking room, now.
He narrowly escaped. He slipped into the bathroom and tried to escape through the window, only to find it completely sealed shut. Ben realized that if he wanted to stay in the game, he had to return to his room and retrieve his gear. He ripped off a stainless steel handrail, smashed the glass, and made himself a crude scouting tool. Then, while the hunters weren't paying attention, he quickly climbed to the rooftop. Using an old rope on the roof, he made his way back to his room. But the sound of breaking glass immediately caught the hunters' attention. Knowing time was running out, Ben quickly got dressed, gathered his gear, grabbed the rope, and prepared to escape through the window. However, the hunters stationed outside spotted him. Instead of shooting him right away, they chose to savor the tension before the kill. A drone circled behind Ben. But Ben had no intention of dying there. He yanked the rope hard, kicked through the glass, and landed in another room on the second floor. With the hunters right behind him, Ben ducked into an elevator under maintenance and smashed the drone chasing him.
Stop filming me!
He threw the grenade from the veteran's box at the hunters, only to realize it was on a delayed fuse. The grenade was tossed right back into the elevator with Ben. Luckily, the blast hurled him down to the basement level. The basement was pitch black. Ben lit a magazine and realized the entire room was stacked with explosives. But the hunters kept coming, and as the flames grew, igniting the explosives was only a matter of seconds. Terrified, Ben suddenly noticed a group of rats fleeing into a sewer. Seizing the chance, Ben followed the rats into the sewer. The next second, every bomb in the basement went off. Surviving the fall into the sewer, Ben finally unleashed his anger and picked up a camera to taunt Killian. As Ben crawled out of the sewer, he was unexpectedly spotted by a young boy. Ben threatened the boy, warning him he'd kill him if he reported him. But the boy showed no fear and told Ben he was there to help. The boy even helped Ben submit the video into the drone mailbox. Ben was then taken to the boy's home, where he learned the boy's sister was seriously ill and needed $5 for medicine. Without hesitation, Ben gave him $10. Ben couldn't understand why they didn't report him, since that money could help buy medicine. The boy said he would never betray Ben for money. When the boy's older brother learned that Ben had a daughter even younger than his sister, who also needed money for treatment, he decided to help Ben escape. The boy took Ben to his secret hideout. He turned out to be a blogger exposing the hunting game, having saved and rewatched 30 episodes. Eventually, he uncovered the game's secret. No contestant had ever survived for 30 days. To boost ratings, the producers would secretly give certain people special advantages. Ben needed to find a safe place to hide while the show was easing up. Once the plan was set, the brother quietly helped Ben out of the city. Before Ben fled, the brother gave him the address of his friend Elton and told him to go to Maine, where he could hide more safely. Before leaving, Ben asked the question that had been bothering him.
Why are you helping me?
You see the power they have? We don't got each other's back. This game's over before it even began.
After saying that, the brother handed Ben a handgun. By the time Ben reached Maine, the run had entered day 10. But just as Ben disguised himself as a blind man and prepared to submit his video, he was spotted. Ben decisively killed one of his pursuers, submitted the video, and immediately took off running. The bounty hunters behind him refused to miss this chance and chased relentlessly. As he ran, Ben stripped off his disguise. He sprinted toward the train tracks, with the hunters still in pursuit, even ramming fences with their car while firing shots. To shake them off, Ben jumped onto the train, then leaped to the other side. Blocked by the train, the hunters could only scream in rage from a distance. That same night, another contestant was discovered by two children and was burned alive by a Molotov cocktail they threw. And Ben became the only survivor left in the hunting game. After countless hardships, Ben finally reached Elton's home. Elton took him into his makeshift laboratory, where Ben finally learned the true secret behind the hunting game. It turns out that in the later stage of the hunting game, Killian activates a hidden military-grade system to make sure every contestant dies within 30 days. Inside scanning devices hidden in streetlights across the country are DNA sniffers designed to identify highly fragmented genetic information in the human body. Once he's locked on, Ben has nowhere to run. That means Ben's only way to survive is to go underground as fast as possible. Elton tells Ben that with the map he has, he can hide for now in a bunker his father prepared long ago. The supplies inside the bunker are enough to keep Ben alive for 3 years. Before Ben leaves, Elton tells him about his past. His father was once a police officer, but because he was too honest, he was betrayed and killed by his own partners during a mission. That's why Elton is filled with hatred toward the so-called upper class. He wants Ben to survive and personally tear off the fake and ugly masks of those people. But before Ben can leave, the hunters catch up from behind. It turns out, Wilton's mother spotted Ben and exposed his location to Killian. Luckily, Elton was prepared and set up an electric fence around the house. When the hunters step into the trap without realizing it, Elton grabs a water gun and sprays them. The next second, high-voltage electricity instantly engulfs every intruder. Before Ben and Elton leave, he casually flips a hidden switch in the lab. When the hunters break in, what's waiting for them is a table full of highly corrosive chemicals. Ben drives out with Elton, but the hunters continue chasing them relentlessly. Hunters are closing in from behind, while helicopters circle low overhead. During the escape, the wounded Elton knows he doesn't have much time left. He stuffs the crucial map into Ben's backpack, and the next second, a hunter shoots him in the head. At that moment, Ben can no longer hold back his rage and violently turns the car toward the pursuers. Just as the vehicles are about to collide, Ben leaps into the river and vanishes. Ben jolts awake from the memory. He finally realizes he can't keep letting Killian pull his strings. From now on, how this hunting game is played is up to him. He mails out the recorded video and decides to stop running from this moment on. He's fighting back. He heads north, planning to walk all the way to Canada, 536 kilometers away. As he climbs onto the highway, the hidden genetic tracker is officially activated, and bounty hunters quickly lock onto his position. In a panic, Ben flags down a car. Inside, Emilia is touching up her makeup when Ben suddenly smashes the window and jumps in, making her scream. Once inside, Ben immediately shuts off the car's self-driving system. He threatens Emilia, ordering her to speed up and find a side road off the highway. A panicked Emilia lies, saying the car is out of power, but the next second,
your battery is 93% charged.
with the hunters closing in, Emilia finally grits her teeth and floors it. She slams the gas and drives in reverse at full speed. At the critical moment, she swerves onto a side road, and their danger is temporarily avoided. Ben jokes about Emilia's driving skills, but the comment instantly sets her off. She angrily lashes out, accusing Ben of abandoning his wife and child for money. Ben doesn't argue back. Instead, he tells her everything he's been through. But when he talks about his wife and daughter, he finally breaks down, tears streaming down his face. Seeing Ben in tears, Emilia decides to help him. Just then, the car's self-driving system suddenly reactivates, and they're intercepted by bounty hunters from behind. As Ben prepares to get out, several hunters suddenly appear and gun down all the bounty hunters on the spot. It turns out that as the show's ratings skyrocket, more and more viewers are rooting for Ben. To stir up even bigger headlines and controversy, Killian deliberately lets Ben live, pushing the game into an even crazier climax. After learning this, Ben grabs the loudspeaker prepared by the producers and speaks directly to the drone cameras overhead, listing his demands one by one. Then he shuts the car door and refuses to communicate any further. For the sake of higher ratings, Killian ultimately agrees to Ben's terms and provides a helicopter and 2 parachutes. Ben disguises Emilia's handbag as a bomb and stuffs it inside his jacket. He plans to parachute over Canada's most luxurious residential area and hide there until the show ends, but things don't go as smoothly as Ben imagined. It turns out the helicopter's cabin door contains a built-in scanner, and Killian quickly realizes Ben isn't carrying a bomb. Just as the hunter leader is about to execute Ben on the spot, other hunters suddenly appear inside the cabin. The truth is, the helicopter has been under Killian's control all along. Killian orders everyone else to leave and tells Ben to put on his headset, saying he wants to have a very private conversation. He offers Ben an astronomical sum to become the next headhunter. He tells Ben there's a handgun next to the coffee machine in the galley and orders him to kill the current hunter leader, Ivan. He even promises to make Ben the centerpiece of the next revenge show. Ben is completely stunned. He doesn't even know who he's supposed to take revenge on. Then Killian confesses that during Ben's escape, bounty hunters found his wife and child's location and killed them. The moment the footage appears on the screen, Ben completely breaks down. Killian presses on, telling Ben the hunter he killed was a key member of the team. To avenge his brother, the hunter Ivan tracked down Ben's wife and child and murdered them. Ben can no longer contain his fury and smashes the computer in front of him to pieces. From this moment on, Ben is no longer the hunted, he becomes the hunter, and his targets are the other hunters on this aircraft. The crew quickly senses something is wrong and realizes Ben has completely lost control. Several of them pull out their guns to take Ben down, but they don't realize Ben is armed as well. A fierce gunfight erupts inside the cabin. Ben moves fast and quickly takes down every hunter except Ivan. Holding his pistol, he checks every restroom on the plane, but Ivan is nowhere to be found. Just as Ben is about to turn back, he hears movement behind him and Ivan appears. The two immediately grapple with each other. Ben is clearly no match for Ivan, and the next second, Ivan knocks him hard to the ground with a punch. Before Ben can react, Ivan pulls out a knife and stabs him viciously in the abdomen. Before killing Ben, Ivan exposes Killian's ugly truth. It turns out Ivan was once a contestant in the hunting game as well, and Killian used the same script to turn him into the head hunter. But right after Ivan agreed to Killian's deal, Killian tortured Ivan's entire family to death in front of him, turning Ivan into a mentally broken killing machine. Just as Ivan finishes speaking and is about to kill Ben, the plane suddenly banks sharply. Seizing the moment, Ben smashes the window, pulls open the parachute on Ivan's back, pins him against the plane window, and ends his life with a single stab. With the plane malfunctioning and about to crash, Ben helps Amelia secure her parachute and carefully explains every instruction. Then he opens the cabin door and makes Amelia jump. Only after seeing Amelia's parachute open does Ben finally relax. Ben walks toward the machine gun, planning to record a final message for his family and expose all the crimes of the show. However, what airs on the show is an AI-altered video prepared by Killian in advance. In the footage, Ben appears extremely arrogant and even claims he'll crash the plane into downtown Canada before he dies. But suddenly, the plane explodes violently in midair. Days later, Killian waits backstage at the TV studio, ready to enjoy the audience's applause. Suddenly, the applause and cheers turn into shouts and curses. It turns out the blogger who once helped Ben notice something was wrong with the show. He secretly hacked into Killian's broadcast system, found Ben's accusation recorded before his death, and released the video. In an instant, Killian's ugly truth is exposed to the world. Killian is about to step on stage to defend himself, when suddenly he sees a familiar face behind him. It turns out Ben didn't die. He shoots Killian dead on the stage. Killian loved most, and the hunters who know Killian's true nature choose not to save him. In the end, Ben returns to his wife and child with a massive reward after killing Killian. And this era that looks down on the lower class is rewritten because of Ben's story.